Alright guys, we're back to another episode of The Good Days Attorney Chronicles. Last episode, a very unfortunate turn of events happened and Gregson is dead. What surprisingly was shot by Von Zeeks, but we're going to investigate and we found some major clues in the investigation, so let's continue onward. So next stop on our destination, we're gonna be going to Lord Chief Justice's office, where that was the last time we saw Von Zeeks, of course. So yeah. So we should likely talk to him. Oh, you made good time. Strong heart. I took an express train back to London. Who is that? Hear Lord Strongheart, can you? Yes, it sounds as though he's talking to someone. What? Kazuma? Is everything in place? I had a private compartment on the train so I could check out all the paperwork. It's... Kazuma-sama? Oh, your timing is impeccable. It is? No doubt you have heard the sickening news about the Reaper's latest devilry. Yes. I'm sure you don't believe it, of course, though, Lord Strongheart. That Lord Von Zeeks could have done such a thing to Inspector Gregson. I believe in only the facts. And the facts in this case point to one thing. The unavoidable accusal of Lord Von Zeeks for this crime. We must bring all charges against the Reaper for taking the life of our legendary detective, Pepe Hans Gregson. But anyway. Oh no, surely not. It is truly a regrettable situation. Tomorrow, the Forensic Science Symposium finally begins. At the very least, though, we can show the world our justice system's swift and equitable processes. So does that mean the trial is tomorrow? Precisely. In fact, this is a fine opportunity for introductions. Kazuma. Oh, but of course you're already acquainted, aren't you? Mr. Sogi here will be present at tomorrow's proceedings. Leading the prosecution. Wait. Nani? Kazuma. So, if we're really gonna defend Von Zeeks, which I hope sure, we have to face Kazuma as he's a prosecutor. I'm sure you're aware, but he's a very capable practitioner of law. Kazuma-sama, prosecutor? Talk to us about this tomorrow's trial. I'm sure you can imagine that tomorrow's trial will be closely followed all over London. In fact, no, people all over the Empire will be watching close to see how it unfolds. No doubt. There's no salvation for anyone in a trial prosecuted by the Reaper Debalion now. The Reaper himself must stand in the dock. Ah, quite so. The public want answers about the Reaper. Answers about how and why those who escaped conviction subsequently died mysterious deaths. But Lord Von Zeeks firmly denies any involvement in such matters. There have been thorough investigations that have been proven to him to be innocent. That's certainly true. Or it has been, at least, until now. No, tomorrow's trial will mark the start of a new chapter in our country's judicial history. Damn. Prosecutor Sogi. So, Kazuma will be prosecuting tomorrow? Ah, that's right. But he's a defense lawyer, Lord Strongheart. Accomplished young practitioners cannot pick and choose their roles. And imagine what would it mean for the prosecution to know the strategy commonly employed by the defense. A devastating combination, wouldn't you agree? Absolutely. I've no doubt at all that Cosmo will be razor sharp as a prosecutor. But why Cosmo-sama? There are surely many other highly skilled prosecutors in Great Britain. It was a professional request. I asked to be assigned to the role. You asked for this? But why? It's all because clear tomorrow. I'm guessing you intend to stand for the defense, don't you? Yes. Although, the Reaper appears to be turning down all offers of representation. I'm surprised such a personal request would have been upheld. It seems unprecedented, quite exceptional in fact. Oh, you are quite right, Miss Mikotoba. Tomorrow's trial will be unprecedented and exceptional in every way. After all, the accused is one of Great Britain's greatest prosecutors, the pride of the Empire. It would be unwise to give public the reason to perceive it as the judiciary closing ranks. So that's why you're happy to let a foreigner handle the prosecution. Ryunosuke, let's see how your skills have been honed. After practicing law in this land for many months. Kazuma, I don't understand why you're being so hostile to me now. This isn't going to end well, my friend. We are rivals now. Killer's gun. Oh yes, we noticed that there was a gun at the scene of Inspector Gregson's death. Do you know if it belonged to Lord Von Zeeks? That'll be a question for the lead detective investigating the scene. Well, the thing is, she wasn't sure, so she told me I should ask someone higher up who might know. That's right, Mr. Naruhodo, be direct. It's certainly a motto that was issued to all personnel involved in law enforcement, yes? Which included prosecutors, I'm sure you can imagine. In that case, it could actually have belonged to the victim, Gregson's gun. No, Gregson had his gun on his person. What about Lord Von Zeeks? He claims it's currently not in his possession. Nani? Huh? According to his story, he lost it. In short, it's brought in a little suspicious. Just because the gun is in question is the same type as the defendant is no proof it's actually his. No, of course not. Nevertheless, the situation is grave for Lord Von Zeeks. Kazuma, can we talk to you? I'm sorry for all the worry I've caused you, but you'll be alright now. Has your memory completely returned? Ah, yes, completely. I remember everything. Including what was I coming here to do. Right. Kazuma-sama, I can't tell you how much happy I am to see you alive and well like this. But how did you come to be here in London when you were suffering from amnesia? It was a voice. This past year, I've been hearing in my head constantly, saying the same thing over and over. Go to London. That's where your destiny awaits. It was that voice that guided me here to London. I'm so sorry for what's happened. Anyway, my memory might have returned to me, but there's something that won't return to the way it was before. Huh? What do you mean? I'm a prosecutor now, so I'm sure our paths will cross again very soon. Wait, now we just need to talk to Von Zeeks. Doesn't look like we're going to glean much more here. Well, thank you very much, Lord Strongheart. Ah, remember, tomorrow's trial will go down in our Empire's history. There's much you can learn from the public gallery. Sorry to have taken up so much of your time. So, we'll see ourselves out. Huh? Hold it. Before you go, Ryunosuke. What is it, Kazuma? I just wanted to thank you. Kazuma-sama, nani? You took my determination to heart and brought it with you over the ocean in my stead. And you carried out my role to perfection. You're always so intent on studying British law in order to change our own justice system. It was your dream, and Mr. Naruhodo didn't want that to die with you. Oh yes, but I had another purpose for coming here. Oh? I actually have a... My bad. I actually have a favor to ask. Which is? This trial I'll be prosecuting tomorrow. I'd like you to be there to see how it ends. Right in front of me. As the defense counsel. Why? What's this all about? I know you'll have what it takes. To see the truth. Lord Von Zieks would never put his fate in my hands. On the contrary, he recognizes your talent. He does? It's not easy to see behind the facade sometimes. Here, how about look at this? That's... young Von Zieks? Gregson? That's Strongheart? That's Lord Von Zieks and Inspector Gregson. And a photograph that must have been taken some time ago by the look of it. And who was this third person? It was displayed very prominently in the detective's office. In Gregson's office, you mean? Yes. But what I'm trying to say is, if you really can trust the Reaper, you might find some straight talking makes him take a different view. Take it. Gregson's photograph. I don't understand. Why are you giving me this? Just hurry, Ryunosuke. Visiting hours at the prison are almost over. How you doing, Kazuma? Looks like we have one last place to go, and it's the prison. We're gonna be talking to Von Zieks. Lord Von Zieks is still reading that letter. We've been gone quite some time, though. Either he's an incredibly slow reader or it's an incredibly long letter. I might even be able to read English faster than he can. I was intending to ignore you entirely. But I can't turn a deaf ear to such an insulting Nipponese. Oof. Oh, sorry, I didn't think you'd hear that. Well, I had the case notes brought to me in secret. I was reading them to pass the time. Yes, we heard that your trial is set for tomorrow. Which is none of your business. So, we found a lawyer. How many times must I reiterate the same thing? This has nothing to do with you. In other words, no. We were just talking to Lord Strongheart and the prosecutor for your trial has been decided. I expect nothing less. Though I have no idea who it is. It's going to be Kazuma Asogi. Asogi? That made the color drain from his face. Huh. Well then. It seems I'm gonna have to engage in conversation with you again after all. One more thing. The photograph. Tell us about this photograph. Lord Von Zieks, we came by this old photograph. Where did you get that? It was taken when I become a qualified prosecutor. It's almost unbelievable. I assumed it was long lost. Is the man on the left there? Yes, that's my oh, Clint. Oh, Clint. The person on the left is Lord Clint Von Zieks. It had to be, really. Apparently, this picture was prominently displayed in Gregson's office. He had a deep respect for you, you know? Were you aware of that? Respect? That's nonsense. No. You heard someone attest to it very clearly. Inspector Gina Lestrade, no less. Well, maybe once, yes. There was a time things were like that. We were brothers in arms, jovially discussing the future of justice and often such lofty subject matter. That was a nice glimpse of the past. I thank you. Feels like I got a nice glimpse of the past then, too. There's a glimmer of light in his eyes, a brief twinkle, an insight into the true nature of this man known to all as the stone-cold reaper of the Bailey. Alright, talk to him. Sogi. 10 years ago, my older brother, who was the director of the prosecutions at the time, was murdered. And the killer, as you know, was a visiting student from the Far East. Not a single day goes by when I don't curse the name Asogi. Genshin Asogi was Kazuma's father. So what cruel twist of fate is this now, 10 years later? The man's son is to crucify me in some kangaroo court? Still don't understand why Lord Stronger apprenticed Kazuma to you. It's what he does. No doubt he knew of the young man's true identity from the outset. But what Keegan been hoping to achieve? Let's not forget that it was only 8 days ago that Kazuma recovered from his amnesia. Why would Lord Strongheart reassign this trial to somebody like that? Asogi. That name is the very epitome of my bane. The bane that is you, Nipponese. Right, your hatred of all us Japanese. The Nipponese bane. I've only just appointed as prosecutor when it happened 10 years ago. My brother Clint, the director of prosecutions, was hunting down a mass murderer, a so-called professor, assigned to the investigation as his partner, was a certain visiting student dispatched from Scotland Yard. And that was Genshin Asogi? Exactly. I developed a deep respect for the man. He seemed noble-minded and chivalrous in the extreme to me. But none of us saw the true nature of the man. So I lost everything when it happened. My esteemed brother, the people I believed in, and any semblance of right prevailing over wrong. Oh, how awful. To avenge my brother, I prosecuted in Asogi's trial. It would have already been allowed, but I be ledgered to the ascribed prosecutor until he consented. What do you mean by the ascribed prosecutor? The man in charge of the professor case inquiry? Lord Mael Strongheart. Wait, what? Lord Strongheart? He was a highly accomplished prosecutor, but he agreed to relinquish the trial to me and act as my advisor instead. Since that time, he was the one person who I felt in debt at the time. I'm sure he must have seen your zeal for the case and recognized your potential as a prosecutor. Anyway, time passed, and then earlier this year, who should arrive in London but you? Huh. And of all things, as a lawyer. Felt your animosity the first time I ever faced you in the courtroom. You're obviously loathing of us Japanese. I kept telling myself it was illogical. But for so many years, that hatred had festered inside me. I could no longer control it. And I can understand why. Now I know the history. But in the same way that I've long felt the deep unease to be the bane of my life, to Kazuma Asogi, I am the bane of his, the Reaper, who sent his father to the gallows. He's looking for revenge, as he intends to take in court tomorrow. Yeah, you really can't blame him, but Gregson's transfer to the Paris Police Prefecture had been arranged for the coming month, but he'll never make it to France now. It's a tragedy. Well, yes, come to think of it, he did mention something about that, didn't he? Yeah, with Gina. I wonder, does it happen often? Being transferred internationally, I mean? It's the first time I've ever encountered it. Oh? The Paris police welcoming an English detective is almost inconceivable. I can't imagine what kind of magic Gregson must have worked to put that arrangement in place. Sounds like that mystery has even the Reaper perplexed. I'm afraid to say that we were very ignorant about Inspector Gregson's standing. We hear that he was considered something of a legend at Scotland Yard. Again, it was 10 years ago that he first made a name for himself, by uncovering a decisive piece of evidence that exposed the professor's identity. If it wasn't for Gregson's singular approach to the case, the discovery would have never been made. What sort of approach? After my brother's life was taken, the inspector pushed for another full autopsy. Oh my, 10 years ago? Why is that so surprising? Autopsy was considered a desecration of the body at the time, and rarely performed, and my brother was the course of a noble, and that made the idea of it more unthinkable. But something Gregson had dug up in his investigations made him determine it was necessary. His powerful convictions somehow influenced the House of Lords, and as a result, I can revenge my brother's death. So, you must have a great confidence in the inspector's abilities then. It's even more inconceivable that you would have taken his life. Inspector Gregson. Your gun. About the gun used to shoot the inspector was found at the scene. Ah, yes, that's not mine. Really? Because common opinion seems to be that it is. What do you expect me to say to that? Lord Stronger informs that you claim to have misplaced your firearm. As embarrassing that is, I'm afraid it's true. When did you lose it then? That I do not know. Oh? I was issued with a revolver when I first became a prosecutor 10 years ago. I must have stowed it somewhere, I suppose, or left it somewhere, perhaps. You have something in common with Lord Von Zeeks after all, Mr. Naruhodo. A talent for misplacing things. No, no, no! This has nothing to do with me. Do not drag me into it at all. Anyway. Don't make the mistake of associating with this Nipponese. Oh dear. The rift is very wide, isn't it? So it's not decisive evidence, clearly, but it doesn't look good, that's for sure. Well, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, that's the first time he's ever used my actual name. I've lost all confidence in the country's justice system. I don't trust the police, the judiciary, or lawyers, but there's still one thing I'm willing to believe in. What's that? That which you see in the eyes of another across the courtroom. A simple determination to know the truth. Lord Von Zeeks. From the very first time we clashed in the Bailey, almost a year ago now, I couldn't deny it, even though I dearly wished I could. Here is a loathsome Nipponese, who has absolute integrity as a lawyer. There are only two other men I've known with that same look in their eyes. My brother, Clint, and Genshin Asogi. The man he idolized and the man who betrayed his trust. in the most hideous way. When you showed me that photograph just now, it reminded me. You mean this photograph? Back then, I was able to laugh. I was free of the shackles of mistrust that plague me now. I look to the future with hope. Since then, I protected myself against betrayal by refusing to trust anyone. But at times, the mire into which I'm sunk makes it almost impossible to breathe. I'm so sorry. So, Mr. Naruhodo, I want to believe in that look in your eyes. I need to believe in it. In tomorrow's trial, will you advocate for me? Of course I will. It would be an honor. I'm so pleased, Mr. Naruhodo. Then my life is in your hands. For Lord Von Zeeks, that must have been an incredibly hard thing to ask. But now, we represent him, which is why I simply cannot let the man down. Tomorrow, in the Old Bailey, it's my old friend, Kazuma. Damn. We got a trial to look forward to. This episode's not gonna end, so we're gonna save real quick. And be right back, guys. November 2nd, 8:56 a.m., the Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. There's that old familiar feeling again. The crushing pressure of this historic courthouse. Actually, no. It's a little different today. There's even more menacing tension in the air. There's a menacing tension in the air today, isn't there, I suppose? Yes, I think so. Von Zeeks. It can only be the result of the menacing appearance of the defendant. A little more courtesy, if you please. Oh my, I do apologize. However, you're certainly not mistaken that this trial is far from ordinary. What do you mean? Yeah, what do you mean? I'm not privy to the details. However, I understand that no jury has been What? No jury? A trial without jury? Well, that's just like the trial of the professor 10 years ago. A closed court? Good morning, my dear fellows. Fucking Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes, have you made note of my hair, Mr. Naruhodo? An outright victory for science. You must agree. No. To be perfectly honest, so much happened yesterday that, well, I completely forgot about your little hair problem. What to one man is a little hair problem? Is to another day of drinking dubious potion after another dubious potion. You have no idea how my stomach ails me this morning. Oh dear, how awful for you. I'm afraid you have only yourself to blame, Mr. Sholmes. And good morning to you too, Mr. Reaper. I'm delighted to see you're so full of vim. And you, I see London's celebrated great detective, is as active as ever. Oh, you exaggerate, my dear fellow, compared to my paltry engagements with a few trivial cases. Reaper's overbearing presence is a far greater deterrent to the black roots of crime in our capital. Huh. And whilst I may not agree with your methods, there is at least one point which I could really commend you. And what an honor. And that would be your eye for a good lawyer, sir. Mr. Sholmes, after all, Behind this lawyer there is a very great mind, my own. What are you trying to say? I only wish that you should be prepared for quite a trial, Mr. Reaper. Sorry to barge in. Oh, it's Gina and... Gina? What's that on her arm? It's a mourning band, I suppose. Father, shouldn't you be at the symposium? It's been postponed. So I have some free time. I decided to come along with the police inspector to see how our country's up-and-coming student is in action. Oh, they're watching the trial. I should be very interested to see the fruits of your studies over the past year. Well, it's an honor to have you here. Let's just hope there are some fruits to see. Oro. Oh, yes, Gina. Why do you agree to this, eh? Why do you take him on? This Reaper bro, everyone says it was him, what killed the boss? I'm sorry, Gina. I just don't believe that. Well, if it ain't him, then who was it? I don't know that yet. I don't care who calls him what, the Reaper's just a name, he's just a person at the end of the day. If it turns out it was him what killed the boss, then God help him. Fiery eyes indeed. Yes, the culprit deserves every ounce of your loading. Eh? At least that may be some solace to the deceased. Pepe Hens. Gregson. Man, why did Gregson have to die? Did he knew too much? Perhaps? Please, Odo. We'll help you, Gina. For sure. Guess whoever did this for the boss? Oh, Gina. I hate feeling this useless, but there's nothing I can do. So we gotta find who done this and make the wretch pay. Counsel for the defense and the defendant! Court will be in session shortly. Make your way to the courtroom at once, please. Alright then, here we go. Fingers crossed. It's time, Mr. Naruhodo. Lord Von Zeeks. Let's go. One who lost his treasured brother to a mass murderer. One who lost his treasured father in a foreign court of law. And one who lost the man who helped her escape destitution. I have no idea what that name is. That word is. All that misfortune, all that pain, on course to collide headlong in this trial. It's time to shed a light on all these dark events. And whatever truth is revealed, we're going to have to look at it straight in the eye. Here we go. No jury, though. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I am here to conduct a fair and just trial of the defendant Barak von Zeeks. Counsel for the defense and prosecution, are you ready to begin? The defense is ready, my lord. The prosecution is more than ready. Oh, Kazuma-sama. I've been wishing to see you in court again, and for so long, it feels. But I never pictured it happening like this. Never thought I'd be facing you behind a prosecution's bench, Kazuma. The so-called Reaper of the Bailey has been scourged like no other, undermining Her Majesty's justice system. Today we must uncover the truth behind his scourge. In other words, this trial is going to be a lot more far-reaching than Inspector Gregson's murder. The truth revealed by the proceedings may have unpredictable repercussions through the judiciary. Accordingly, they are to be conducted as a closed trial with no members of the public present, by Her Majesty's direct orders. How will that work, my lord? The burden of all arbitration and adjudication falls on my shoulders. Therefore, as you will see, no jury. The jury's bench shall remain vacant today. If no members of the public are present, may I ask who is occupying the gallery, my lord? They are members of the judiciary here to witness proceedings and ensure an equitable trial. Members of the judiciary? Oh my, it's a very unusual trial already. There is, of course, another unprecedented aspect to these proceedings on which I must elaborate. The counsels for the prosecution and defense are both aliens of Great Britain. I believe it takes an outsider to see the truth sometimes. As I stand here in this courtroom now, I'm quite certain. This is the reason why I had to come to Britain. Kazuma? Very well, let us commence the proceedings. Okay. Prosecution Asugi, your opening statement if you please. Certainly, my lord. The incident took place on November 1st at just after 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Location was a building on flats in Fresno Street, on the outskirts of the city. The victim's body was discovered in an old single-room rental property. Yes, Inspector Tobias Gregson, a name known well indeed to this court. Not least for his miraculous resolution of one of this country's grimmest cases 10 years ago. The Professor case. How sure are you about the time of the incident? Several witnesses on the street outside heard the gunshot, and all reported at the same time. Yes, that's what Gina told us too. There are a number of witnesses. I have here a plan of the room. The victim was found curled up in one corner. It's believed that he was shot at point-blank range and died instantly. How was the range been determined? There were scorch marks around the entry room. Such marks are caused by the gunpowder used to fire the bullet. But powder hot enough to leave the scorch marks is only ejected a few inches beyond the end of the barrel. In other words, it only happens when the target is at point-blank range. I see. Yes, thank you for the detailed explanation, Counsel. Autopsy report. So he was shot at close range instead of far? Murder weapon was found lying beside the victim. And let me check the autopsy report real quick. Time of death. Victim was shot at close range. Was only an instant death. Scorch marks point of entry. Bullet exited the body from behind. Caliber of the gun used matches up to standard issue firearms for the judiciary. Do we have the bullet? Like, if it exited the body from behind, where's the bullet? That's what I want to know. Anyway. And have you managed to ascertain the owner of this firearm? No, my lord. Not conclusively. Bravo, Kazuma-sama. For not trying to use the gun as evidence when its provenance can't be proven. Furthermore, my lord, as I've explained, a revolver was fired at extremely close range. Bullet passed through the victim and struck the wall behind him. There is a candelabrum mounted on that wall. And the tip of one of the candles in it was found to have been blown off by the projectile. We noticed that too, didn't we? Yes, that's right. Thank you for the thorough report, Counsel. The setting of the crime is very clear to me. You will submit the plan of the crime scene as evidence, please. As you wish, my lord. Crime scene has been entered into courtroom. This is a very weird crime. So if we assume it was close range, do you think it was like near the door or something like that? I don't know, we'll see. Is this Fresno Street room Inspector Gregson's private abode? No, my lord. The room is rented to a Mr. Hugh Boone, but there is a precious little furniture aside and it is generally in a poor state of repair. So what on earth was Gregson even doing there? Presumably he was investigating some case or other. When a policeman was informed of the gunshot from the witnesses and rushed to the scene, he found only the deceased inspector and the accused standing alongside holding a revolver. The attending officer arrested the accused on the spot, so he touched the gun. So the details of the case are very clear. In that case, the prosecution would like to call its first witness. A name, please, counsel. Naturally, the accused himself. What? Lord Von Zeeks? As a prosecutor, he believes in the oath of the office he's taken, and will be compelled to tell the truth. Very well. Let the defendant take the witness stand. So, witness, state your name and occupation for the court. Barak Von Zeeks, Old Bailey prosecutor. I presume Lord Von Zeeks that you... Skirasogi's opening process. I apologize, my mic is acting up right now for no reason whatsoever. I did. It is alleged that you were found at the scene of the crime, and that you were arrested by the arriving police officer. Can you confirm this? Yes, my lord. Then I'm sure the court would like to hear you explain some things away. Namely, why were you there in the room on Fresno Street at the time in question? And what exactly took place? I intend to explain away nothing. I will simply tell the truth. I must say, Lord Von Zeeks, I never imagined this day would come. Or rather, I didn't want to imagine it would come, but since you became known as the Reaper, a part of me has been dreading it. Yeah. Here we go. Your formal testimony then. Witness. Here we go. The facts of the incident. I was investigating Gregson, and my inquiries had led me to that address. When I first entered the room that day, it was dark inside and I saw no one. A moment later, I heard the gunshot. I spun around and saw the revolver on the floor. Just as I picked up the firearm to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me. Very interesting testimony. That testimony was the whole truth? I feel like there should be more to it. It was. So, you heard a shot being fired in the room with no living occupants. And moments later, a corpse somehow appeared before your eyes, is that it? You're right. You haven't explained away anything. In fact, you would barely qualify as an excuse. I thought you were my mute apprentice. Yet it turns out you have a way with words, Prosecutor Asogi. It would appear that it eat me a singular tale indeed. Singular isn't the word, it's laughable. What's got into Kazuma? He's not behaving like himself at all. Very well then. Counsel, you may begin your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. Press every single phrase. You were investigating the inspector? What on earth for? I'm not at liberty to say. We need some, like, sorry? I've identified a distinct possibility that Gregson was involved in a case I was investigating. Regrettably, though, He was killed before I could secure the proof I needed. Is the court to understand then that on the day in question you followed the victim to the scene? No. I was privy to his movements in advance. How? I stole into his office in the yard and consulted his diary. The address on Fresno Street was noted in the 5 p.m. entry. You illegally entered the man's office? In Japan, that alone would constitute a very serious offense. Cosmo, we're not in Japan, by the way. As it does in Great Britain, I assure you, is that not the case, Lord Von Zeeks? I was aware of the possible consequences. So in summary, you were investigating the victim. And yet, you refused to tell the court why. I didn't realize British prosecutors enjoyed such freedom to choose what to divulge under oath. Why did I ever think I could defend this man? But Von Zeke is not being a good witness right now. Have you ever been to the address before? No, never. I only learned of the place as a result of my investigations into Gregson's activities. There was no light inside when I entered, so it was all but impossible to make out anything. But at 5 p.m., the sun would only just gone down. It would have been still reasonably light outside. The room has a window, but it was boarded shut. Very little light found its way into the room from the outside. It was extremely murky inside. That is a contradiction. I wouldn't have noticed if the victim was already lying on the floor. There was no artificial light in the room, you say? You're quite sure? I'm quite sure that the part of the room where the body was found was very dark. And I have a feeling there was a small oil lamp burning on the desk, though I couldn't say for certain. Look, Mr. Naruhodo. This one right here. There's a small desk in the room just here. Yes, I remember there was an oil lamp on it as well as the framed photograph. When I entered the room, I closed the door behind me and started towards the desk to investigate. And what did you find? Nothing. I never actually reached the desk. You think this was like a trap? So who fired a gun? Do you think you were tailed? Von Zeeks? You were tailed? And like, boom. So who fired a gun? I have no idea. I didn't see anyone else in that room. But you say it was a very dark in there? Yes, that's right. All I can tell you is I didn't sense another's presence. Aha! Could it be... Then the gun should actually originate from somewhere outside the room? No, that's out of the question. Because of the autopsy report. Oh. Without doubt, the sound emanated from inside the room. I could smell the gunpowder. This is going to be bad, going from bad to worse. You say that's the point at which you noticed the revolver on the floor? Correct. And I foolishly picked it up. That was carelessness on my part. Yep, that was. Presumably then, the gunshot you heard came from the firearm that you somewhat hastily took in your hands. In point of fact, my lord, I believe it did not. Nani? The barrel of the revolver I picked up was cold. There was no smell of spent powder. But then, where on earth is the gun that was fired? Huh? Whilst I would like to oblige you with an answer, I'm afraid I can't. I too would dearly like to know that. I would love some info. A man, you say? One of the witnesses, I presume? That's right. One of the street merchants working on Fresno Street. Who are these merchants? A number of them had set up their stalls directly beneath the forwarded window of the crime scene. A match seller, a newsmonger, and a peddler. They've all been given statements saying they heard the gunshot. without thought of danger. They ran inside to see what had happened.
Yes, Gina told us about that yesterday, didn't she?
They burst through the door with some force, it would seem. They did, and almost gave me a heart attack in the process.
But you're supposed to be the Reaper.
The first man to come in immediately noticed the revolver in my hand and fled. Policeman patrolling on Fresno Street heard the commotion and was able to arrest the accused shortly after the incident occurred. Anyway, the man's scream drew my attention in that direction. It was only... okay.
What do you mean by that? In what way did the body appear?
I honestly can't explain it, but it's the truth. As far as I was concerned, the body hadn't been there until that point, and suddenly, there it was.
Did you perhaps hear the sound of the victim falling to the ground just beforehand?
At that moment, what I heard was the sound of the door flying open and scream of the man who came inside first, nothing more.
Do you think he could have been killed up above and then dropped? I see.
After the men fled, I examined the body. I was stunned to find out it was Gregson.
Most curious circumstances indeed.
How the inspector was killed or how his body seemed to appear out of nowhere, I have no idea.
Objection.
Surely the court has heard enough.
Huh?
My lord, the cross-examination has been clearly revealed that the accused, Barak von Zeeks, is lying on multiple fronts.
Huh? Nani? What is that supposed to mean?
Good gracious, counsel.
Defendant is lying, you say?
In his testimony just now, he claims that he failed to notice the victim's body because the room was dark. That's correct. No, that's impossible. As proven by this candelabrum.
How does that prove anything?
As you examine the tip of the long candle, you can see has been blown off by a powerful impact. One would assume that the projectile from the firearm passed through the victim and struck the candle. The problem comes when you consider the other two candles, which are clearly of a different length. Yes, I could see that the only candle appears to have been struck by the bullet is long. We could reasonably expect someone to have lit all three candles together, which begs the question of why has only one ended up in longer than the others.
That must be because the particular candle was extinguished when the others were still burning.
That's right. When the candle was hit by the bullet, it obviously went out. But the other two candles would still have been burning, so the fact is, the victim's body would have been illuminated by the light still thrown by the candelabrum. And the accused's claim that he couldn't see the body clearly contradicts those facts.
Huh?
And now, to the next lie.
There's more?
The accused also claims to never have visited the scene of the crime before. That's the truth. In that almost empty room, the police discovered something very unusual. A board covered from the top to bottom in police documents and newspaper cuttings.
Yes, that's right. We saw it too.
It goes without saying that the contents of the police documents cannot be divulged. However, they included a number of reports from various historical cases, the oldest of which was from 10 years ago.
10 years ago? This is starting to sound familiar.
And there is a common thread linking of all the documents on that board.
Indeed. What is this common thread, counsel?
That they all relate to the cases prosecuted in court by Barak von Zeeks.
All of them?
And furthermore, all those cases are the ones in which the defendant was acquitted. Good lord. Interestingly, none of those defendants are alive today, because all of them have been sent to their graves by the Reaper.
Shit. Oh no.
In short, that dingy little room is the Reaper's secret hideout and his base of operations.
The Reaper's hideout? That is a bit of a stretch, Kazuma. If I'm being honest here.
And yet, the Reaper would claim to never have been there into his own secret hideout? No one would have believed that. No, the truth is, we've been looking at this backwards. Backwards? Explain, Counsel. Inspector Gregson was investigating the identity of the Reaper. When he discovered the location of the man's secret hideout, he was killed. As I'm sure everyone can imagine. By the Reaper's hand.
What? Nani? I'm so confused right now.
Ora, ora, ora! Very well, I hereby state the current opinion of the court. Barak von Zieks is an outstanding prosecutor who has rendered great service to his country. However, it is with deep regret that I must concur with the prosecutor Soji's contention that the defendant's testimony exhibits a number of stark inconsistencies with the known facts. All I have done is state the truth as I know it.
Kazuma's done a brilliant job as ever. He's drawing on his experience as a defense attorney to build his prosecution case, and it's formidable.
Counsel, you will submit the board that you just showed the court as evidence. I believe it be fundamental in establishing the facts surrounding the Reaper's existence. Thank you, my lord.
Notice board. But here's the thing. There are some victims that were still alive,
and now the prosecution would like to call new witnesses to the stand.
Christ. There are details of a whole raft of cases dating back years on here, aren't there? This paper from 10 years ago is browning with age, look. Out of interest, the most recent thing appears to be this newspaper cutting here there. Ah, it's the same Red-Headed League advertisement that Shones picked out. And do you remember? There was a red hair piece at the scene too. Was Inspector Gregson an exponent of the Red-Headed League then? I mean, there was a wig with red hair. Wait, what? What's this? Handprint? Oh, what's this? Sonaruhodo, look! Oh yes, it's a smudge of some kind. In fact, it looks like a handprint. And the color? That's blood, isn't it? What? Did no one investigate this board? Oh dear, how disturbing. There's a bloody handprint on the back side.
Witnesses who saw the events unfold on the day in question.
They were mentioned in the previous testimony too, if you remember. Yes, the street sellers who heard the gunshot and went running into the room.
Very well, lead the witnesses in. The defendant may step down from the witness stand. Certainly, my lord.
What the? Who are these people? Oh, I recognize one of them.
Alright, so, witnesses, state your name and occupations for the court.
Names? We don't use names. Far too fancy for the likes of us.
We're just free and easy. So what we like, live where we want to live. Is this Little Red Riding Hood?
I give them a vacant stare as they walk down Fresno and spin a few words into a verse for them. 100 pounds, please.
What the hell? One of them looks familiar.
Ah, would I be right to assume that all three of you make your living by selling wares on the street?
Everyone calls me gossip. I sell jaunty little tidbits to passerbys anywhere, you know?
Jaunty little tidbits. Tidbits.
Got an absolute smasher for you, sir. Right up your ginno, that it is. 6 is the price, and not a penny less.
This is wait, you're actually trying to sell it to me now?
Oh, come on, sir. Don't tell me you're not interested. Try the man.
Give him the money and see what it is. No! No! Pay the man, counsel. Alright. 6 pence it is.
You won't get it, sir. Now got your listening ears on? Just between us, a young couple on Slight Street had just had twins.
This is highway robbery. Fucking gossip. What the hell? Is that it?
No, that's not it. It's gossip, isn't it? It wants to spread, but that's bits up to you and your mouth, of course. I got more, you know. Wants another juicy one? Another 6 pence a piece it is, if you're curious.
I am curious, yes, about what's going on just under that hat bottom lip of yours. Blaming the unusual bruise or whatever. It's that poking up from under your I see. Oh, I see that.
What about the next witness, then? What name do you go by and what do you sell?
Oh, me? I'm Venus. That's what everyone calls me. Funny, innit? I sell these lovely little fireworks to all the local school kids. Damn, she's pretty cute.
No, now is not the time to be degenerate. Let's focus on the case.
6 pence a pop? What do you say?
You are really a seller, aren't you?
You weren't exaggerating with little. Do they actually sell? Oh yeah, the second years can get enough of my Venus firecrackers. Especially when I tell them that they get 100, they could blow up the school. Definitely don't try to blow me up, at least. Okay. Not the most savory of ideas, young lady. What do you say, then, eh? Want to be part with 6 pence a pop?
Wait, what? Wait, you want me to buy one?
Tell you what, I'll let you in on a little secret. If you get 100 of them, you can blow up the whole courtroom.
Try the woman.
Give her the money and see if she's right.
Pay the woman, counsel. Alright, I'll buy one.
Lovely stuff, right then. This is something a bit extra just for you.
Why are we gonna be poor? Why are we trying to be poor at a time like this?
The Venus special, only 600 pence. This is 600? 100 of my regular fireworks, nothing little about that, is there?
And then there'd be nothing little about the punishment if I blew up the whole Bailey either.
The Venus firecracker has been entered the court record? What the fuck? Okay, I'm very curious.
And the last witness, what do you name, go by, what do you sell? But hold up a goddamn second, we got some more evidence. The Venus firecracker.
The fuck is this? Have you had an idea, Mr. Naruto? You're staring at the end of the string of fireworks. Sorry, it's just that it's the Venus special. I was wondering, what 600 pence worth of fireworks would sound like? Shall we find out?
What? No, but she said she could blow up the courtroom.
Alright. That was a fairly sizable bang. My ears are still ringing, Mr. Naruto. It sounded almost exactly like... a gun... Wait, what? No way. Don't tell me that's the gunshot. The fucking Venus firecracker? Oh my god. Wow, they're making me examine so much evidence. Would it feel so obvious? Oh my god. Well, I guess we know what our gunshot would sound like, I guess.
I am the thinker, me. I think of all sorts of thoughts. I think, therefore I am, therefore I think. Because I stand there on the street watching the world go on about me, they call me the observator. Get out of it, old man. Everyone calls you Sandwich, and you know it. So, You don't actually sell anything.
A problem is shared problem have, as they say. I give advice, I do, and think what it means. I don't actually sell anything. No, come to think of it.
Pity.
No more purchases today, please. I bet Kazuma and fucking Sato-san literally want me to buy stuff. Well, we have quite a cast here, it seems.
They conduct their business on Fresno Street from morning until night, my lord. They always in the same place, directly adjacent to the crime scene.
I see, and thus they heard the gunshot, I suppose.
Not only that, but they very bravely ran inside to see what was going on and to witness the crime. Well, I'll be beggared, I thought. Just between us.
I mean, Venus and Milo, what am I to do? What a terrible thing I saw.
Well, what I think is, if we all see the light and shadow play with our eyes, if any of it is real, no.
I'm surrounded by idiots right now.
Very well. The court will hear from the formal testimony of these 3 witnesses now. You will describe the details you witnessed and heard at the time of the incident.
The witness's account.
We saw the whole thing from start to finish. We did everything from the moment that went in the building.
It was less than a minute after the Reaper had gone inside, and we all heard that big bang.
It seems to me that quick to talk is quick to walk. Gossip couldn't wait to go and see what had happened.
I ran into the room and there he was, the Reaper gun in hand, standing over the dead body.
I was scared after death, me, so I ran off to find a copper.
Well, if these witnesses are there the whole day and saw everything, who did they see going inside the building? Only the victim, Inspector Gregson, and the accused, Barak von Zeeks.
I've seen pictures of that Reaper in the paper. I know what he looks like. And just between us, folk love stories like this. I've made myself a tidy somewhere already.
But wait, the room was just one of several flats in the building. Someone from another flat could have done it. All those flats on Fresno Street are unoccupied.
Course they are. They're small, damp, dirty, and expensive to boot.
The room which the inspector was found is the only property in the building that's currently leased.
We know that the leaseholder's name, don't we? It's Hugh Boone. I'm pretty sure that's an alias. For sure.
The testimony the court has heard would appear to leave little room for doubt. It's becoming increasingly difficult to see how anyone other than the defendant could have committed the crime.
No, let us cross-examine.
Thank you for your candor, my lord.
Counsel for the defense, you may proceed to the cross-examine the witnesses.
Yes, my lord. In a closed court like this without a jury, the judge is the only person whose opinion matters. It's like actual Phoenix right now. I have to break down this testimony, somehow. Press every single phrase in the game. When you say they, who do you mean exactly? Inspector Gregson and the defendant, Lord Von Zeeks?
I suppose so. The likes of us don't know the names of High and Mighty. But I'll tell you one thing, it was the old Reaper that went in last, that's for sure and certain.
Just behind Inspector Gregson. Did they arrive at the same time as each other?
No, not at all. The first fella must have begun inside a good 15 minutes before we heard the gunshot.
The victim already arrived 15 minutes before, are you sure about that?
Am I sure? Does it seem likely I've forgotten a fellow with bright red hair like that, does it?
Yeah. His hair really were red, weren't it? Rather than my flaming fireworks, even Little Red Riding Hood.
That fiery red mop still burned on the inside of my eyelids. It is.
Wait a minute. You're saying the man was a redhead?
Weren't you listening, chum? Aye, he was a redhead. He had a big trunk with him as well.
But Inspector Gregson's hair isn't red, not by any stretch of the imagination. Maybe he wore the red hair. It seems likely that the person you saw wasn't in fact Inspector Gregson at all, but some other third party.
No, I hate to break it to you, but the witnesses are correct.
Nani?
Just have a look at this photograph of the victim taken at this scene.
He's wearing it. Yep, I agree. Yep, that's Inspector Gregson, alright? And a red hairpiece. Of course, we saw one by the floor when we investigated the scene, didn't we? I still refuse to believe Inspector Gregson wore a hairpiece still. So then why on earth would he have been wearing something like that?
The color does seem to suit the man, one might say. Photograph will be submitted as evidence, please, counsel.
I feel like there's something wrong here. And what became the trunk that the red-headed victim was supposedly carrying? This is something very important. Gregson Pepins. The one bothers me is that there's a bit of light here. And like, wouldn't there be candles right up here if the body were like facing in a way where, yeah, like wouldn't there be candles lit up here? Then what's this light here? Is it really the candle? Like, why is this shining light here of all places? Oh, maybe it's just the photo itself, but yeah. I feel like something is wrong here, especially with this photo. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
I was informed that no trunk was found at the scene.
So it just disappeared?
What did you expect us been watching the building every second, do you?
We definitely saw him in the dock going in, though. No question about that. It was less than a minute after the Reaper had gone inside that we heard a big bang.
By which, presumably, you mean the gunshot.
I sell these little things, don't I? How would I know what a gunshot sounds like? I've always thought it probably sounds a bit like this, doesn't it? And you say you heard the noise almost as soon as you saw the defendant here and enter the building. Oh yes, that's right, I was almost straight away. Bang, it went, just like that.
Well, he's a Reaper, ain't it? It's what the French call a fait accompli. When a Reaper's around, people are going on in the ground. I mean, that's what he does, innit?
I think we get the message.
The Reaper couldn't allow the Inspector to live after he discovered his secret hideout. There can be only no clear motive for the crime. Yes. It's certain that an eminently credible motive.
Great.
And then at that point, you ran inside, is that correct?
It seems to me okay. So, when Gossip ran to see what had happened, did you go too?
Whoa, me. I'm a bit hampered, see? All the signs are that, and I can't move very well. You were way behind, presumably, and with that sandwich board around your neck, and that big sign in your hand?
What a great burden you bear. Pardon me for asking, Mr.
Sandwich, but... Is it possible you and I have met before yet?
We met in case number 3, first game.
I'm not anybody. Me, the signs are what make me who I am now. I signed, therefore I am.
He doesn't want to talk. So you weren't employed as an omnibus driver under a year ago then?
No. No.
Sus. I might be mistaken, but I believe his trembling has intensified, Mr. Naruto.
Yes, I agree, he's clearly been through a lot. Turn down King Henry straight in the back. Widow's arms is just there.
Oh dear, you made him hide behind his side.
Life is full of surprises, isn't it? I ran into the room, there he was, the Reaper, gun in hand, sending over the dead body.
So then you were the first person to arrive on the scene, is that right?
That I was. Kicked the door open and like a professional I did. I yelled out, "What's going on here?"
Lord Von Zieks claims all he heard was a man scream though.
And it was dark inside the room?
No, not dark at all. There were candles burning on the wall.
Really?
And there was a fella collapsed on the floor. Just between us, it's the first thing I noticed when I got inside.
I see. Even though Lord Von Zieks claims not to have seen any such lights on the wall.
The next thing I noticed was someone standing right beside the body.
The accused, Barak Von Zieks.
That's right, the pale-faced Reaper himself. I was a little shocked, I won't deny it, but I'm a little coward. I stood my ground and gave that Reaper the cold hard stare myself, huh?
Why are you... Do you have something to add, Mr. Sandwich?
There's nothing to me. Empty in the head I am. Just 2 slices with no middle. So I don't know what you could have wanted with me.
I think that maybe you just remembered something? Having heard Mr. Gossip's last statement, I mean.
What I think is we're all nothings, really. We're trying to dress ourselves up as something else, but at the end of the day, we're all just street sellers.
That's enough out of you, Sandwich. You keep your trap shut now. Unless you want to make you into a real sandwich.
When he saw the Reaper, he fell clean over on his backside.
That's it?
Oh, you rotten beggar. I told you to keep that a secret.
He screamed, he did it. Screamed and scrabbled on all 4s. That's all I wanted to say.
Really? Mr. Gossip, is this true? You must form your own testimony.
The floor was dead slippery, that's why. Planted my hand on the filthy pool of blood, didn't I? Yuck.
What? Pool blood? Eh?
But listen here, when I was sprawled up on the floor, I still kept giving that Reaper cold hard stare, and don't you forget it.
Let's go back a little. Did you just say you got blood on your hand?
I did. It happens to the best of us at times, doesn't it?
Now, I was scared, so I slipped over. So we can just keep it between us, can't we? No. Mr. Gossip, I'm going to have to ask you to add that to your information to your formal testimony.
Oh, if I must.
No witness will amend his testimony to include the aforementioned details at once.
I have a feeling Cosmo doesn't want to, counter my claims as I cross-examine. I don't know why he's not.
I slipped over and got blood on my hand, so I quickly wiped it off the floor.
You wiped your hand on the floor?
Well, who wants blood in his hand, eh? Horrible stuff, and they might have thought I'd done it. No ta.
And you didn't think that might be a problem?
Does it really matter if I left a few grubby handprints on the floor? They'll get cleaned up in the end, won't they?
I have a feeling that's a contradiction that we found.
Don't make such a fuss. That's the message from all of us.
Is something wrong, Counsel?
No, my lord. I didn't remember anything on the report about a bloody handprint on the floor. That's all. You know, I think I already know.
Don't come at me with all that. You can't intimidate me. I know what I did. I wiped it off on the floor, the blood.
Really, huh? I wonder, could that be what happened? Mr. Naruhodo? I don't have all the answers yet, but I think we may have just uncovered a vital clue from one of our evidence we examined. I was scared of half to death me, so I ran off to find a copper. So you didn't run into the room with your friends?
I'm not that sort of girl. Sorry? I'm a little timid little thing, me. I was too scared to go in there. Ah, right. I see. Old Lippy and the witch ran in there, and then I heard a sort of old scream.
Then it wasn't me, I swear, that I were a gentleman, I stake my honor on it.
I wondered what on earth was going on.
Which is even when you went to find a policeman.
And when I ran into a copper as soon as I turned the corner, so I brought him straight back to the place. Didn't I do well, eh?
Just between us, that copper's eyes nearly popped out of his head when he saw the Reaper.
I've never felt more uncomfortable in all my life. And the defendant was arrested on the spot, I believe.
Considering the catalog of killings the Reaper had carried out, it was a particularly auspicious end.
Yeah, if I can't find any holes in this testimony,
I'm afraid the judge will give a ruling of guilty, Mr. Naruhodo.
Truth is, though, their combined testimony is fairly damning.
Unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be any obvious problems with their statements, do there? Still, if Lord Von Zieks really is innocent, I'm almost certain that we'll find something in there that doesn't quite add up. You don't think that one of these three could be the true culprit, do you?
No way. I don't know, but what do I do know is that there's more to this case that has been yet to been brought to light. Yeah, I believe I know which statement it is. It's this one. The newly formed statement. And the board that we examined with the bloody handprint. So you wiped off the blood from your hand on the floor of the room. Are you quite sure about that?
Well, what else do you expect me to have done? Does it really matter? Yes, it does. The police found no such handprint on the floor during their investigations.
Wow. And no one said, hey Cosma, no one said this was on the floor.
What exactly is the defense asserting?
Maybe you haven't checked everything. If you listen, you'll find out, Prosecutor Asoji.
Huh?
Certainly, there was no bloody handprint found on the floor.
What are you trying to say?
There was a handprint in blood left very clearly at the scene. On the back of this notice board.
Oh, yes, indeed, in the studio, a handprint in distinctive color of blood.
You dead right? That's my right hand. I know it anywhere.
So you touched the board.
The witness very definitely testified when he wiped his hand on the floor. Any handprints on the back of the board are irrelevant.
Huh? Not if the board itself had fallen over onto the floor. In that case, it's quite possible for the witness's handprint to have ended up there.
Just look at the floor plan of the room. The notice board was in the opposite corner of the room to the victim, and it was in an upright position. If it had been someone been toppled and was lying on the floor at the time, it would have been a considerable distance from the body.
I fell over when I came across the body. So it was basically right next to the corpse, not on the other side of the room.
In other words, defense assertion is contradictory.
Yes, it is.
Huh?
There's a very definite contradiction here, for which there must be a reason. I take it you formulated a proper hypothesis, counsel. Regarding this, there's apparent discrepancy between the witness's account and handprint found at the scene. I have, my lord. This discrepancy between the witness's account and the location of the handprint is explained by the board moving. Another handprint. False testimony. I'm pretty sure it's something else, isn't it? Oh boy. I don't know which one. False testimony, board moving, another handprint. Wait,
They could be behind the board. Oh, I see. Maybe. I don't know. The board moving. Yeah, I was thinking it on the top of my head to see what would actually happen in the crime scene. The real contradiction here is the handprint itself, not where it was found. As the court can see, it's upside down.
Good gracious, so it is. The witness had put his hand against the board. The finger should be pointing upwards.
Yeah,
What does that tell us?
it really was on the floor. It tells us one simple fact. When this handprint was made, the board must have been lying on the floor as I previously suggested, which means that after the incident, it must have been moved.
Nani? Igari?
Objection!
You're claiming that somebody moved the notice board after the shooting? Then tell the court who.
I don't know that yet, but the point is, when you consider all the testimony we've heard so far, we can now be very clear on one point.
Which then that would be?
The position of the notice board at the time of the incident, my lord.
So, counsel, I must ask you to clarify your assertion for the court. At the time of the incident, where do you maintain the notice board was situated?
Right here. In front of the door. It was right here, my lord.
Goodness. No, I'm afraid I don't quite see your logic. I'm disappointed, Ryunosuke. In Japan, we're taught to have patience and respect for our elders. So as until his lordship sees your logic, you will know your place and not move from that spot.
Gawk! Oh, damn it. How brilliant of Cosmo-sama. It almost sounded unreasonable at first, but we was just thinking of you.
Unreasonable? Try unfathomable.
Anyway, I think I have the answer now. I know my place, or rather, I know the board's place. Okay, if it's not left side, it's definitely the right side, right? This, the only possible location.
Immediately adjacent to the doorway.
The court would think back to the testimony given by the defendant earlier. He said that when he entered the room, it was dark, and he couldn't see the body.
By heck!
The notice board had been there, the body would have been completely hidden from view, and the light from the candles would have been blocked, making the room appear darker.
But the accursed also claims that the victim's body simply appeared before them.
That's true. Or, in his precise words,
Just as I picked the firearm up to examine it, the door flew open. I heard a man scream. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me.
I don't know about calling it a scream, but he was talking about me and no mistake. Cause it was me that kicked the door open.
if you look again at the floor plan, consider what would happen if the door to the room was thrown open with force. Boom.
That can't.
The door struck the notice board, knocking it over and making the victim's body visible.
Good gracious.
My client has told me nothing but the truth. He has simply described what he saw. Ugh. So they kind of messed with the crime scene.
Ora, Counselor, how has this not come to light before now?
After the incident, somebody must have righted the board and moved it into the position where the police, myself, and my colleagues saw it when investigating the room.
Witness, what do you have to say for yourself?
What? Nani? Me, my lord?
You and your fellows were there at the scene before anyone else. Anybody else. It goes without saying that you must know something about the position of the notice board.
The witnesses in the stand will testify again. You will each explain exactly what you did upon arriving at the scene of the crime.
Stop it, Opie, looking over your glasses at me. I get the message.
Alright, anyway. So, unfortunately, we have to end this off on a high note, guys. And a cliffhanger for another testimony to be arrived. But anyways, next time on the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, we're going to be continuing this case of the trial. And I'll see you guys all next time.